And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Growing up, I was very much influenced by the Kennedy legacy that said that government service was a legitimate means of achieving social justice in our nation and the world.
Those of us who entered the government management profession, we want to make a difference. And by serving at the local level, that's one of the best ways to do that.
I can't do my job without my city manager. City managers are the engine that makes local government work.
At the turn of the century, as more and more people throughout the United States moved away from an agricultural way of life and poured into newly industrialized urban areas, new burdens were placed upon local governments.
The rise of the city manager and the council manager form of government was a direct result of the reform era in the United States in the early 20th century. It was a reaction to the graft and corruption and inefficiencies of local governments all across the United States. And so a group of business leaders, academics, and political leaders around the country came to an idea that there was a different way to structure local government and a different value set that would dictate how local government performed. And out of that came, in essence, the principles that became the council manager form of government.
During the first decade of the 20th century, the foundation was laid for the development of today's professional local government managers and administrators. In 1924, ethics became a foundational issue for ICMA.
Our Code of Ethics, adopted in 1924, established the foundation for an entirely new profession. It underscored our obligation as professional managers to oversee the day-to-day operations of our communities in an efficient, effective, and highly ethical manner.
During its first few decades, ICMA became a leading source of critical information and professional development resources for managers.
Continuous learning and improvement has always played a key role in ICMA's existence. It dates all the way back to 1919 when our City Manager magazine was first published. Now, for the first time, a city manager could read informative articles about the nuts and bolts of our profession. And then flash forward to 2001 when we developed our voluntary credentialing program, which defines and recognizes professional local government. ICMA clearly has demonstrated a lifelong commitment to lifelong learning.
During its first century, ICMA also focused on measuring performance efficiency.
In 1933, with funding from the University of Chicago, ICMA began to measure efficiency of municipal services. It also was the precursor to ICMA's work in performance measurement and management in the 80s and 90s. Most recently, it's been the driver behind our partnership to produce a high-yield, low-cost analytics product for local governments.
In 1972, with a grant from the Ford Foundation, ICMA established the ICMA Retirement Corporation to provide city, town, and county managers with financially sound and portable retirement plans.
30 years ago, when I first became executive director of ICMA, I had a hero. It was Perry Cookingham, the city manager of Kansas City, Missouri, and the dean of city managers, widely known and respected by all of us. Well, one day he came in to see me at the headquarters office there in Washington, and he said, "Mark, after 19 years as city manager of Kansas City, I've just been let go by the city council. Now that's up to them. That's the kind of thing they should do if they want to. But they let me go without a nickel in retirement benefits." He said, "That's bad, of course, for me, and it's also bad for the city." Then he said, "Mark, what are you going to do about it?" And I thought a minute, and I said, "Okay, Perry, we'll fix it."
Well, the contribution from ICMA-RC has been not just for city managers, but for everybody in state and local government. And so we have grown from one plan and one participant to over 9,000 plans and over 1 million participant accounts. So the contribution has been huge, and many, many people will have a more secure retirement because what was done by Mark Keene and others back in 1972.
The last 3 decades of the 20th century brought many firsts for ICMA.
The I at ICMA has been part of our DNA for 90 of its 100 years. We held our first conference outside the US in Montreal in 1924, and Canadian J.R. French became ICMA's first international president in 1944. But ICMA truly went global in 1989 with its first contract from USAID. From there, we launched an initiative in Mexico, introduced the CityLinks program in Afghanistan, and recently established the ICMA China Centre.
There would be many more ICMA firsts to come at the dawn of the new millennium. And what will the next 100 years look like for ICMA and the profession?
What about the next 100 years? What will our role be, and what will ICMA be doing? Our leadership styles will evolve. Our skill set for the next century will more likely be based on our capacity to motivate, empower, and to tell stories. This actually will probably be more fun, more rewarding, and more interesting. And so it's a wonderful opportunity. While we have started down this road, there is still a lot of new territory to explore. And this is our call to action. We need to continue to evolve our toolkit as leaders, and that's where ICMA can play a critical role.
The new millennium was when ICMA actively reached out to attract the next generation of city and county professionals. ICMA's Next Generation initiative, for example, introduces young people to the management profession, and it connects them with mentors and mid-career professionals. Attracting talented people is also a goal of ICMA's Life Well Run campaign.
In 2002, ICMA launched Leadership ICMA, an intensive 2-year program for individuals not yet eligible for credentialing. It helps participants like me cultivate the key competencies needed for successful leadership in local government management.
So I think that making sure we maintain a high degree of professional education for managers, staying true to our ethical standards of the profession will be paramount for us moving forward.
Fundamentally, I think the real value proposition is if everyone made the particular community that they're in a little pocket of greatness, and you did that across kind of small town and communities and cities and counties, just sort of all across the country in the de Tocquevillian sense, of little lump by little lump, then however you add it up, we still live in a really great place.